We finally got through the first 2 Star Wars movies. Now let's talk the best of the prequels. Though that's not saying much. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Alright, so Star Wars Revenge of the Sith takes place about 3 or 4 years after the events of Attack of the Clones. After the events of the last movie, Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars had just began. Well, the movie starts out where pretty much the war is pretty much wrapping up. Which means the final stages of Darth Sidious and the Sith's plan, the plan they've been laying out for 1,000 years, has finally come to fruition. You're wondering yourself, 1,000-year plan, what are you talking about? I'm talking about a little book series called Darth Bane Trilogy. I talked about it in my episode 1 review. In that review, I talked about Darth Bane. Darth Bane, he created the Rule of 2. The Rule of 2 said, 2 there should be, no more, no less, 1 to embody the power, and 1 to crave it. What Darth Bane saw was the Sith they're no better than the Jedi. They were just raising their armies up against the armies. The Sith continuing to betray each other, that was never going to work. He believed that they needed to take on normal citizens, play their game in the shadows. Don't stand up in the light like the Jedi do. Go into the dark and attack them from behind. For over 1,000 years, the Sith have been slowly decaying the Republic within itself. Now, we see Palpatine and Darth Vader destroy the Republic altogether and create the Empire. But more on that in a little bit. First off, I want to talk about the title, Revenge of the Sith. I think this is one of the best titles of Star Wars ever. Because originally, I believe, Revenge of the Sith, well, in Episode 6, the original title was Return or Revenge of the Jedi. So it's a play on that title. So I kind of like that. The first 10 to 15 minutes of Revenge of the Sith is really well done. It kind of plays on the whole... It's kind of reminding you of episode 4, 5, and 6 of the original trilogy. It starts out with a cool-ass space battle between the Separatists and the Republic. And this Anakin we see is the Anakin we kind of see from the Clone Wars / scene from what Obi-Wan Kenobi talked about in episode 4. You see Anakin's awesome piloting abilities. You also see him, he was a good friend. He always looked after people. You see that in Anakin, and Hayden Christensen actually plays that well. Well, they had to go and rescue the Chancellor because they've been kidnapped from Count Dooku and General Grievous. There was another Clone Wars series that came out right before the movies came out. One thing I was disappointed in the new Clone Wars because you know what the Clone Wars has to end with. The last episode of Clone Wars has to end with the Battle of Coruscant, where the Emperor gets captured. You see that in this, but you saw it in the old Clone Wars show. Also, like, people are like, why is General Grievous always coughing? Well, in that Clone Wars show, and I believe in a book written by James Luceno, Grievous gets, crushed by Mace Windu, and it's an injury he has. So that's why he always has that cough. Snippet of information, General Grievous was originally supposed to be voiced by Gary Oldman, but he just couldn't do it or something, which kind of, maybe he'll be in a future Star Wars movie. Maybe Admiral Thrawn? Who knows? So you get the lightsaber fight between Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Count Dooku, and that was really well done. A lot better than it was in Episode 2. This brothership between Anakin and Obi-Wan, it's really cool. I really do like General Grievous as a character. If you watch Clone Wars, you see more of Grievous. A bunch of books out there. I believe one of the best books is written by James Luceno. It talks about how he was like a Jedi or something, and he became a machine or something. He was like the machine. He was the Jedi form of Cypher Dyas. Cypher Dyas was the Jedi who supposedly built the clone army. If you watch the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars, you find out about Cypher Dyas, and it also has a cool Yoda sequence episodes. The best parts of this movie is, once again, it's Emperor Palpatine. Palpatine is making his in-game plans. To do that, he's been corrupting Anakin for 10 years, or 13 years, however long Anakin's become a Jedi. Remember that scene in episode 1? He was like, and you, young Skywalker, we'll keep an eye on your progress with great insight. Because there's some cool moment in the book Darth Plagueis. It's kind of assumed that Anakin is Darth Plagueis' son. You're probably wondering right now, it's like, wait a minute, I thought Anakin didn't have a father. He was just magically conceived by midi-chlorians. Let's talk about Darth Plagueis. Let's talk about how well Palpatine seduces Anakin into becoming Darth Vader. First off, doubt. Doubt's like poison. If you don't treat it immediately, it'll keep growing, and eventually it'll kill you. Unfortunately, that's what happens to Anakin Skywalker. Lucas always said that the first 3 Star Wars movies, these 3 Star Wars movies, are about Anakin. And he also said that other ones are about Anakin as well. It's pretty much about the rise and fall of Darth Vader. I disagree though, because I believe the old trilogy is more of the Luke Skywalker story, and the old trilogy, this new trilogy, is more about the story of Anakin Skywalker, or more the fall of Anakin Skywalker. Anakin starts having visions of, like in Episode 2, he had visions his mom was dying, and when he found his mother, he just snapped. That's a cool episode of the Clone Wars where he actually developed Anakin's dark side a bit. It wasn't just Palpatine who turned him to the dark side. Things happened to him and he just exploded. Well, he has visions of Padme dying. He does not want to go through pain again. You know, I watched Survivor a little bit. There was a quote from somebody. It's like, you want to get people on your side, you don't tell them how you can help them. You tell them how you can help themselves. And that's what Palpatine does right here. He goes, have you understood Darth Plagueis the Wise? He was like, Darth Plagueis was the greatest Sith to ever live. What was cool, if you read the book Darth Plagueis, I've said that the past 2 episodes of me talking Star Wars, but it's so relevant. What Darth Plagueis did, he researched midichlorians and how to manipulate them and to create life, practically making him like a young man. A lot of people hate the midichlorians, but I kind of look at it as like them way to make it more sciencey, I guess. I hated midichlorians too until I read Darth Plagueis. But what Palpatine is doing is trying to tempt. He's trying to tempt Anakin to reach out for this power. Unfortunately for Anakin, that's not going to happen no matter what. So it's a saying in the Jedi where a form of attachment can lead to the dark side. Well, I've read books of Star Wars where into attachments in the Sith code is also bad for you. Think about it like this. Jedi believe forming an attachment means you'll lose someone. When you lose someone, you'll do whatever it takes to save that person. The Sith code believes whenever you have love in your life, it means you become more merciful. Mercy is not a thing to have as a Sith Lord. So it's very interesting to look at both sides. So when Palpatine reveals to Anakin, he's like, I can teach you the ways of the dark side of the Force. I guess like, I can't do that, and then eventually does. And then he tells Mace Windu, and then he cuts Mace Windu's arm off. Poor Mace Windu. I believe he was holding, I don't know if he was holding back or not. Because Mace Windu is the second or first most powerful Jedi in the Jedi Order. In the Star Wars books, he created his own lightsaber form, something that never happened before. One thing I'm not crazy about the whole Anakin turned to Darth Vader, he's just like, I'll do whatever you ask, and then he just snaps like that. Really? You would think that would go a lot longer through a train of time. It's not like when you do one bad thing, it's like, alright, I'm automatically full evil. It would have been interesting to see it at the end of Attack of Clones, maybe Anakin turns to the dark side, but he's still keeping the Jedi face on. And he's eventually killing all the Jedi off like that. By the end of Star Wars Episode 3, he's full Vader, and when he goes into the Vader mode. Another cool thing Star Wars Episode 3 did. Order 68. Initiate Order 66. Drive the eradication of the Jedi Order. Exterminate! Exterminate! Again, I am mentioning Clone Wars, but the Clone Wars made the prequels a little better. The first 4 episodes of Season 6 of the Clone Wars, it goes into Order 66 and how it works. There's a chip in every clone's brain. Whenever they hear Order 66, they kill Jedi. It's a cool moment in the Clone Wars, and I recommend you checking it out. If you don't, because people are like, what? Why did they kill them? Because most of the clones didn't want to kill the Jedi. They literally had no choice. Also, a little cool snippet from New Dawn. You know, whenever Obi-Wan or Yoda hear that signal that says, please return to the Jedi Temple. The book, A New Dawn, the prequel to Star Wars Rebels, it talks about if a signal goes off, it will order all Jedi back to the temple. And that's the signal that goes off in Star Wars Episode 3. Kanan, the main character of Star Wars Rebel, asks, well, what if a signal says to run away? Obi-Wan's like, well, I guess you run away or whatever. And it's like, yeah. Don't worry, there's so bad dialogue in Star Wars Episode 3. He keeps holding on true to that Star Wars prequelness. First dialogue of all is when Padme finds out Anakin turned to the dark side. She's like, Anakin, you're breaking my heart! Once again, garbage dialogue for Natalie Portman. She's done some better things in her career after that, though. Now let's talk about the lightsaber fights. Crazy about the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight. First 4 or 5 minutes of the fight's alright. One of them are fighting in lava, and they're fighting on a little droid thing. That's cool. That's stupid, ridiculous. I much prefer the Yoda Darth Sidious fight because it's lightsaber fight, and it also mixes it with force power fight. I prefer the Yoda fight. So too, Yoda was too cartoony for me, but this he was freaking awesome. Now, one more thing Star Wars Episode 3 does brilliantly, which something a recent movie, Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies, did poorly. Star Wars Episode 3 set up the original Star Wars trilogy brilliantly. You had Anakin's transformation to Darth Vader. You had the slow-mo thing, and I thought that was brilliantly shot. You find out how his body is destroyed. I think that's awesome. Episode 5, whenever Vader, he's in that little pod thing. He has like scarred mark, he's bald, he has like breathing thing. It's like, whoa, he's not wearing that armor just for kicks. Why is he wearing that? Where we find out what happened to him. Also, you have Luke and Leia being born. I thought that was really awesome. Also, Bail Organa's in the movie. I didn't talk about him in the last movie because he wasn't in the movie enough to talk about. Organa is the founder of the rebellion. We've seen him in an episode of Rebels so far. The coolest moments, I didn't even realize this last time I saw it. I've heard people talk about it. But in the end of episode 3, he gets C-3PO and R2-D2. He's like, take care of these droids. Wipe the memory of the protocol droid. Which means R2-D2 knows everything of what happened in between from the past. So he knew who Luke's father was. Maybe no one could understand him or anything, or maybe C-3PO thought he was talking rubbish. But both R2-D2 and C-3PO are the most consistent things from the Star Wars trilogy. They're going to be in all the Star Wars movies probably now until the end of time. Also, you have Uncle Owen and Aunt Peru. They introduced him the last Star Wars movie. Whenever you see Owen or Lars, he's like, hello, I'm Owen. I'm Owen Lars. I guess I'm your stepbrother. The way they gave Luke to Owen, like Obi-Wan, he's like, I'll protect him, make sure he's safe. Also, you had at the end of the battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan takes up Anakin's lightsaber and takes it, which we'll see who he gives it to in the next movie, right? The last shot of this movie is shot so brilliantly. Owen Lars, who is watching the sun going down, as Luke does in the next Star Wars movie, and you hear in the Luke thing go, and Aunt Peru shows Owen Luke, and they're looking to the sunset for the next Star Wars movie. That's how you set up the next trilogy. So overall, Star Wars Episode 3, it's a better movie than the first two. That's not saying much. Star Wars Episode 3 has its problems carried over from the first two Star Wars movies. Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman still have no chemistry in this Star Wars movie. Ewan McGregor proves to be one of the best parts of the Star Wars prequels. So I believe we will see an Ewan McGregor Star Wars spin-off movie in the future. The team goes full Darth Sidious mode, full Emperor mode, and it's awesome. The shot for Anakin becoming Darth Vader is a great scene. Also, the eradication of all the Jedi is another great scene. I'm going to give Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith a 3.5 out of 5. This is a decent Star Wars movie. It's not as good as the original 3. At times, I kind of prefer Episode 3 over Episode 6. Because of the Ewoks, probably. But I'll talk about that in a couple days, right? Have you seen Star Wars Episode 3? And what are your thoughts of the entire prequels? Whatever they are, comment below, let me know. And if you like this video, click that like button, subscribe to see more. And go to my Facebook page, www.facebook.com/DarthEasy, to stay updated to what's going on in the world of Easy Nation. All too easy.